All right, I want to talk to you tonight about how easy it is to figure out when you're on to the left and onto one of their schemes, because they will stop everything they're doing and go into a complete freak-out mode. When you see them resort to factless, baseless attempts to discredit that usually only feature name-calling and multiple attempts at catchphrases, you know you hit them exactly where it hurts. I've talked about Agenda 21 for years on this program. When I was over at Fox, we did a couple of shows on it. And our latest book comes out officially tomorrow, called Agenda 21. This is a work of fiction, but what it is based on is not. The book is absolute. I mean, it's Stephen King, The Stand, terrifying. Brad Thor read it, and he said it is the 1984 of this generation. It is spooky. You're going to see at the end of this broadcast a trailer for it. My wife said, don't have the kids watch it. My wife said, because I played it for her in bed last week, about 11:30 at night, she said, okay, thank you for playing that while we're just about to turn off the lights. It's pretty scary. The book is fiction, but what it's based on, the UN Agenda 21, is absolutely real, and it is more terrifying. We announced this last week that this was the book coming out, and instantly the left went into full-fledged panic mode. They were like, freak out, everybody! Glenn Beck is crazy again! This is from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Quote, Glenn Beck is an entertainer who pitches his shtick at the eagerly deluded and culturally paranoid. That'd be you. Given that we live in a nation of some 300 million, that's enough of an audience to make a man wealthy. So when Beck publishes a book titled Agenda 21, it's easily dismissed as the harmless lunacy that it clearly is. Got it? I'm just an entertainer going for money. You're stupid. So dismiss it. How about this one? For those who don't speak crazy, Agenda 21 is at the center of one of the latest conspiracy theories to emerge from the fever dreams of Glenn Beck. This one's from Oklahoma. Interesting. All of these attacks have one thing in common: an absence of fact. If Agenda 21 were such a conspiracy, then why is it easily found on the website of the United Nations? Why would the Republican National Committee include it in their 2012 platform? Quote, we strongly reject the UN Agenda 21 as erosive of American sovereignty. Tonight, I'm not going to lay out a detailed lawyerly case to you and try to convince you of anything. I never do. I want you to do your own homework. If you find this to be a conspiracy theory, God bless you. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just going to show you the goals of Agenda 21 as laid out by the United Nations and as found on the United Nations' own website. Then I'm going to show you how the program is right now in your local community and your local government. Then you go out, do your own homework, and make a decision. Is it legitimate or not? I warn you, you won't sleep well at night once you start looking into it. How do I know? Harriet Park. She didn't believe me when she first heard it either. She did her own homework. And then she said, I think we should write a book. The reason why we wrote this book is not for money. That's not why I do anything. Quite honestly, if I wanted to do stuff for money, I would shut this network down and go home. I believe our freedom is at stake. And I believe that the only thing that will save it is you. But as we learned in this last election, we are so far gone at the federal level, and in so many parts of this country, the only way it will be saved is by the individual, the family, and the community, the local town, the community level, and at its highest, the state level. And Agenda 21 is a direct challenge to that. This book, Agenda 21, wasn't written by the Koch brothers or some group of right-wingers trying to stoke fears. Quite the opposite. This was written by me and a woman in our respective homes. I believe that you armed with truth, there's nothing to fear. The reason this book exists is to arm you with information and arm you with something that you can give to a friend who doesn't believe, so they can act on that information. Like the little liberal Democrat who you're going to meet here again if you've been with us for a while. You've met her about a year ago. She's from California. Yes, a liberal Democrat. That's one of the states in California, one of the states where Agenda 21 is actually gaining traction. She researched Agenda 21 and what was going on and became so mortified she immediately decided, I've got to do something about it. She came up with a great idea: get involved and stop it. She is as left as they come. But this is one of those issues that is so far beyond politics. This can unite left and right. But the radical revolutionary left is already trying to shut that down. I warn you, this is not some crazy conspiracy theory, as all leftist media outlets will try to brush it off as. Simply look at the UN goals and see if it sounds like a good idea for your local communities to follow to empower you, the individual. So what is Agenda 21? Well, it's easy. Agenda 21 is a comprehensive, this according to the United Nations website, a comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations system, governments and major groups in every area in which human impacts on the environment. Now, where is that? Every area where humans impact the environment. Answer: everywhere, in everything. Now, how do they plan on funding such a massive effort? Easy, according to the UN website. Agenda 21 will require a substantial flow of the new and additional financing resources to developing countries in order to cover the incremental cost for the actions they have to undertake to deal with global environmental problems and to accelerate sustainable development. Got it? So it's going to keep growing and growing and growing, and there's going to have to be more and more money from rich countries going to poor countries. We'd be one of those rich countries. Sounds a little like redistribution of wealth, doesn't it? I know, crazy conspiracy talk from the United Nations. The main hook to this program centers around one catchphrase, and it is this: sustainable development. Well, that sounds great. And I want you to know, most of the people in your local areas think that that's fine. And I do too, if it was just that. Hey, we want to be able to sustain development. Yes. However, they don't know what's behind sustainable development. According to the UN website, again, sustainable development, development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Well, don't we have to be kind of a prediction king to be able to do that? Let me translate. They want to evaluate and approve and reject anything and everything you do in order to make sure it's for the good of future generations. In other words, it doesn't matter what the individual wants to do as long as it's good for the collective. Hello, 1984. More and absolute control. We have more on what this means coming up, but it includes things like where you can live, what land should be designated for, not by your local community, but by the UN. Here's the Agenda 21 stance on land. The objective, quoting the United Nations, is to provide for the land requirements of human settlement development through environmentally sound physical planning and land use, so as to ensure access to land to all households and, where appropriate, the encouragement of communally and collectively owned and managed land. Particular attention should be paid to the needs of women and indigenous people for economic and cultural reasons. Gang, that thinking throws our standard American legal system upside down. It has a, you can't do anything until we approve it kind of sound to it, which means guilty until proven innocent. The burden of proof is on the person contemplating any kind of action. This is called a precautionary approach, which is referenced in Agenda 21 a lot. Here's what makes Agenda 21 different and more dangerous than most radical, revolutionary, globalist ideas. The focus is the local level. They're not trying to jam this down your throat in one fell swoop from, the international body. They're going through the back door at the extreme local level. A group based in Germany called the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI. This is an important group that if you decide this is a cause that you want to be involved in, you're going to know more about this crazy, spooky group than you ever want to know. They're heading up that the local style effort, and they provide all the support to any town that wants to pursue Agenda 21 policies. Not shockingly, George Soros, Open Society, and his institute is a large funder of ICLEI. Due to the crafty and benign nature of the Agenda 21 pitch, which basically amounts to save the earth type message, let's be good to the land. That sounds good. Virtually nobody disagrees with that. Because of that, American cities are falling prey in record numbers to the scam. Even my great state of Texas, in Austin, despite the plea from someone opposing the rewilding plans. Watch this.
Amongst the stated objectives of Agenda 21 is the rewilding of America through the Wildlands Project. This project would remove human beings from over half of the land in America and deem these areas core wilderness zones. Regardless of where your family farm once was, human beings will not be allowed to set foot in these areas. There would also be highly controlled and monitored buffer zones around these areas in which travel would be severely limited.
Do you notice that the main color in that map was red? That's from ICLEI, and those are areas humans will not be allowed in. It's why they are gobbling so much land in the West. In Austin, Texas, they voted 7-0 in favor of the plan. In Texas. California, not surprisingly, is all in with Agenda 21. In Los Angeles County and 5 other Southern California counties, they're calling for more than half of all new housing to be, quote, concentrated in dense so-called transit villages, with much of it at even higher 30 or more units per acre. In other words, it's a war on future suburbia. You want to buy a house an hour outside of town with an acre or two for the family? Good luck. If your area is following Agenda 21, it will not be allowed. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Tonight, we want to show you the real-life story behind the fiction story of Agenda 21. We want to introduce you to who's fighting it and how you can join them and how to spread the word. Let's just start with the basic 9 principles of Agenda 21 and what they seek to pursue. Watch.
At its core, Agenda 21 is about control. Control over land, natural resources, and entire populations. It seeks to control the air by regulation of carbon emissions, the ground by sustainable development, and the sea through environmental regulations. Officially stated, Agenda 21 is a comprehensive plan of action to be taken globally, nationally, and locally by organizations of the United Nations system, governments, and major groups in every area in which human impacts on the environment. Because being human will always have an impact on the environment, Agenda 21 paves the way for extraordinary UN control. When you boil it down, there are 9 basic tenets of Agenda 21. Move citizens off private land and into urban housing. Create vast wilderness spaces inhabited by large carnivores. Eliminate cars and create walkable cities. Support chosen private businesses with public funds for sustainable development. Make policy decisions that favor the greater good over individuals. Drastically reduce the use of power, water, and anything else that creates carbon pollution. Use bureaucracies to make sweeping decisions outside of democratic processes. Increase taxes, fees, and regulations. And finally, Implement policies meant to incentivize a reduced population. Controlling our every impact on the environment means controlling every aspect of our lives. What we eat, how we travel, where we live, how we live. But no is still an option. Go to glennbeck.com/agenda21 right now.